Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast. And we've got play of props here on Tuesday to keep it going in the NBA. A little 3-1. I did say take under 21.5 PRA for Jalen Duren because it will come out to 21.5. And he had 21. So if you did get the under at 21.5, you won. If you did not, you got hooked. Apologies there, but hopefully you listen and don't just watch. But either way, we're going to keep the good times rolling. We were striving for 3-1 last night. Feeling really good about the looks we have on this little slate for Tuesday. So let's jump right into your first pick for the night here, Nate.
Yeah, we love DeJounte Murray. You said last night diving into it, your best look here, 30.5 PRA. It's juiced up a little bit. I went after the juice went up. I just hit 30 PRA with Zion to score 20 and got plus 130. So I think that's a fine conservative parlay here. Zion is on good rest. He's facing a Bulls team that can't really defend the power forward or defend the paint whatsoever, and that helps with DJM too. But in general, this offense has these two guys have shown a great two-man rapport thus far. And having Zion out there unlocked DJM, now averaging 27, 5.5, and 7 on nearly 30% usage in 3 with Zion, shooting 51% from the field. The total is rising above 240 in this game because, of course, it's the Bulls, and they play with pace, and they don't limit anything. Particularly, they don't limit point guards. They've gone from 10th last year in terms of total fantasy points per game, so the whole bundle here, to 28th. And Kobe White might not play. So now we're getting just Josh Giddey, if Dosunmu can't play too. Giddey and Limpy Lonzo, who's putting up some offensive numbers, but is not where he was defensively by any means. And I mean, DeJounte got there in his debut with the Pelicans while shooting 4 for 15 against this Bulls team. So he had 14, 8, and 10, still got to this number. He would have gotten out on Friday. I did not include the rebounds in the official bet there, but just take the whole portfolio. He's an elite rebounder. His last 4 against Chicago, averaging 7 boards, 8 assists, and getting over this consistently, again, despite shooting just 41%. So give me him to bounce back scoring-wise against a team that's 3rd worst mid-range, 6th worst at the rim in their last 10, and even worse probably if you go back through the whole season. Like, there's just no rim protection here.
Yeah. When we're looking at like the Bulls and the Wizards and all these defenses, it's like, do you need me to rattle them off, or can you just trust me that they're bottom 5 in everything that matters on defense everywhere all of the time? For this Bulls team, man, like, trade Vooch. What are you guys doing? I'm going to move past. We don't have time for that, but I love the Murray pick. Murray on triple double watch, perhaps, as well. Might be worth a sprinkle of like a 0.1, 0.2 unit kind of thing, where I imagine this isn't like 4 digits in terms of like, 10-1 here, right? We got to be at like plus 1,000 for him to get the TD right now. Only a few guys are less than that for the TD, and they're usually from Eastern Europe, like Sabonis and Jokic, and Luka. But either way, let me go to my first look here. I'm going to that Kings and Bucks game. And if Malik Monk does play, you kind of mentioned he's on the wrong side of questionable because it is sort of a nagging injury that you can't necessarily control. It just takes time, such as a hammy, something to that effect. A strain of some kind is just going to be rest that it requires. So there's a possibility that Monk might be, let's say, 40-60 to play, more likely not to. But I'm tackling assists here for the Kings versus them. So if he is available, I love 9.5 rebounds and assists at plus 110 on DraftKings for Monk. Absolutely love it. And by the way, I wanted to make one more point too. Murray for the boards. I forgot to mention Chicago gives up the 3rd most rebounds per game to guards because they take the 2nd highest percentage of their shots from 3. So another reason I love Murray and keeping the boards in there for Murray is the long rebounds off of the 3s from the Bulls. But back to Malik Monk. If he plays, over 9.5 rebounds and assists. And I'm going to talk about him in the same breath as De'Aaron Fox, because if Malik Monk does not play and we still get D Fox anywhere at like 5.5 assists or 6.5 for like even money or better, I think you can take De'Aaron Fox on the dimes in this game against the Bucks without Malik Monk. Here's what I'm looking at. With Malik Monk on the floor this season, when they've had minutes on the floor, and if you look at it with the whole starting lineup, Keegan Murray, Domas, DeMar, D Fox, and then you throw either Monk or Ellis out there, right? Because Keon Ellis will start if Malik Monk is not out there. Well, if you keep Malik Monk on the floor with that 5 and that starting lineup, they played like 300 minutes together. It's been the starting lineup for the past couple weeks, 3 weeks almost. And in those minutes, Malik Monk is at about 7 assists per 36 minutes with those guys. D Fox is at about 4.5, 4.2 in that range. So he's scoring. He's taking like 22 shots per 36, D Fox. He's getting about 25 and a half points per 36 with this lineup. Obviously, Domas's assists suffer, but Malik Monk becomes the facilitator. He becomes the lead, not necessarily ball handler, because you still have D Fox taking the ball up the court, but he's the guy who is definitely the outlet that is now going to try to find guys when he's driving to the hoop. D Fox is passing on like 28% of his drives. So he's looking to score when he's going to the rim. Malik Monk is not passing, or is passing, on his drives as well. So that's why I love the assists. The rebounds are there for him as well, as he's at about 4.5 rebounds for Monk in this situation. So love all that stuff. He's out. Everything goes back to sort of last year's offense with the wrench of DeMar DeRozan, right, essentially. And at that point, you've got D Fox looking at about almost 8 assists per 36. Domas has definitely lost his assist touch there. I think you could probably still take him for the rebounds and points. I know you like him tonight to sort of crush Vooch, and I'm fine with that. But the play here is, if Monk is in, I love his rebounds and assists because I'm getting plus money for that. If Fox is in and no Monk, well, Fox is going to play. If no Monk, then Fox over 5.5 assists, or over 6.5 for plus money or even money, to me is still a good enough bet for D Fox.
So you like the Kings guards to eat against Damian Lillard. I think that's pretty much the TLDR summary here for this pick. We'll just see which one's playing. You could get value if Monk doesn't go, for sure, if Fox is the only guy out there. So I'm going to go under here on the Pacers guy. The Pacers, Pascal Siakam, under 4.5 pace assists. Why am I winding my way to saying this? Because I was thinking about going over on Nembhard, and it's still out there, but it just seems like a fishy play. And I think the final nail in the coffin for me was looking at his per 36. It is still only 20 points assists for Nembhard. So I'm a little worried about him continuing to shoot like 70%, which he's done the last 7 without Halliburton to get 30 PA, which is just great. And then diving into it a little deeper, though, like this Cavs defense, which had struggled on the road, is actually really good lately. And that's why they had won 6 straight road games before this loss in Indy, and their defense was still good in that one, holding down Siakam, despite Halliburton not really playing in that one. Halliburton almost certainly out here. So you'd think a little elevated role for Siakam, but it's not an easy matchup at all against Evan Mobley and with Jared Allen lurking behind him. So I guess you got to get it going in the mid-range if you're Siakam. Well, they're second best, the Cavs, on opponents' mid-range shooting in this last 7 on the road span. Number 1 on corner threes, so that kind of takes away some of his assist opportunities. He only has 4 assists in his last 3 games total against the Cleveland Cavs, averaging 18.7 points per game in that span. They still have elite rim protection, of course. So, I mean, Siakam, just not necessarily diming up just because Halliburton's out. And you just look at the data for the Cavs. They do limit points and assists for power forwards. They give up a ton of rebounds. So that's why I'm leaving that out. I mean, it's definitely possible he gets 10 plus boards in a pretty fast-paced game. I just expect the Cavs to bounce back here after, kind of an embarrassing offensive showing, decent defensive showing, but to either exert their will on one or both ends of the floor. And that means, Mobley's a lot better than Siakam, like just straight up, like you should eat him up.
Mobley's finally there, like where we at least want him to be, like on both sides of the floor. He's going to get better. There's no question, but he's finally there. Like, you know what I mean? He hasn't been there. And I think that's a big part of the defense for them. You will have, a lot of Miles Turner and Jared Allen going down low and banging against each other. I usually like to take some like Miles Turner boards or even points, because I think he'll be out there for minutes tonight. And I think he's actually a little bit better of a matchup than for this game than Pascal Siakam. Pascal's been a great 3-point shooter this season, but yeah, Evan Mobley is a dude. The only thing I would say here, that one thought is, when I look at guys going up against Evan Mobley, he's so freaking strong and good at the 4 that sometimes they're forced to pass on the drives because they can't get there. I always take Jaylen Brown when he goes up against an Evan Mobley or the Cavs. If he's at like 3 or 4.5 assists, I love the JB assists, because there's only like a handful of guys in the league that can make Jaylen Brown have to pass off of a drive because they're actually as strong as him. And I think Pascal's going to run into that today.
The thing is, I don't think Siakam's a good passer. Like,
Fair.
I don't think he can like make the right read
Fair.
consistently enough to get the 4 dimes that they're kind of tacking on here. Like,
Right.
yeah, I'll add that.
It's a good point. Yep. No, I'll agree with that. So no qualms there. I think he's going to go under on the points if you want to add the dimes too. And then I'm sure the rebounds are kind of low for to go under like 7.5 or something, which he's always capable. It's like right at the line for him. But let's go over to Paul George and talk about PG, the PG kind of. Although to be fair, like with Maxey on the floor, he has not been getting the assists as of late, but he's going up against OKC. I've got this rebounds and assists at 11.5. I still think you're good. I kind of like the rebounds more, but the assists we're still getting at like 4.5. And his numbers without Joel or Andre Drummond are pretty awesome. And also without Jared McCain and Kyle Lowry, by the way, who are both out in this game. Caleb Martin, questionable. And then the only other guy I would care about is KJ Martin for the rebounds, which actually helps Paul George. Not that KJ Martin's a very good rebounder for a 4, but either way, I just named all guys that are not playing tonight for this team. So it's like, once again, it's the Yabu, PG, Maxey, Oubre show. And if Caleb Martin can go, then he'll be out there as well. Otherwise, I don't know what this team's going to do. I think they're going to get work tonight. So that's my only fear here, but you can get rebounds against them. And if PG gets 30 minutes, even in a drubbing, then he should at least be able to get the 12 RA. And what I'm basing this on is in 36 minutes per game, his per 36 numbers without Drummond, all the guys I just mentioned that are out, he's at almost 16 rebounds and assists combined per game. His touches go up dramatically without Joel Embiid. Now, Tyrese Maxey's still dominating everything. I would love it if Tyrese Maxey's props just went up just a tick higher. Maybe get 28, maybe get 29.5 points for the guy. And then we can just fade him against the Thunder, who are just going to sell out to guard him, even without Caruso in this game. So I don't think it's going to be close enough for someone like Maxey to get that amount. It's also why if you just wanted to take the rebounds for Paul George at like 7.5, it's a cusp kind of bet once again, where it's like, plus money for over, and otherwise you got to drink all the juice to take over 6.5, that kind of thing. So I just put them together because I think you're getting value on the fact that the assists are kind of low and the rebounds are kind of high, and you can kind of put them together to get there with the way that he's been playing without these dudes. So that's really all this is. Like, it's not a good matchup. The rebounds are a good matchup because this is the second worst rebounding team in the league in the Thunder. So there's nothing wrong with it there. I can see how the assists would scare you, but if you just focus on the numbers for Paul George, I think this is still good enough to get at 12 RA.
Yeah, good volume play. I mean, same thing with Maxey. Like, I thought about going under for him, but it's just like these guys have to do everything tonight for this to even be remotely close. Yeah, for them, I know I might lean the plus 11 for the Sixers just because I think they do fight at home, and I mean, but the Thunder are too scary to make that a recommended play. I mean, Thunder once again -2.5 third quarter spread. The books have caught up a little bit in terms of like them getting 1 or half a point in the third, because maybe the Sixers come out, look competitive, and then the Thunder have just been putting teams to bed in that third quarter.
Yeah.
So that's a look to consider there.
It's a really great point. I paid like 3 months worth of rent off the Warriors third quarter bets alone back in like 2017. So when you find a team that comes out after the half and smacks the opponent to make sure they win the game, it's kind of like they're playing with their food in the first half. And that's a big part of what I hope PG can rack up some numbers in that first half while it's still close, because at some point in the third quarter, I do see the Thunder pulling away. But that's all the time we have for you in player props. Definitely make sure to subscribe to that page. Check out the best bets we have in a separate episode, looking at sides and totals and the like. And we'll be back here on Wednesday for you guys. So until we see you next, happy betting.